we're um, hanging out today. Um, and I don't think I would be shocked if there's anyone in the audience. Anyway, I'll start with a few housekeeping items now that we are here, and then if people join, they join, and then I think we could do a round of introductions, and we can explore the DC 2050 thing if we want to. Um, so, first things first, I'm going to be sending an email out later this week asking everyone to sort of reapply to the committee. It's an annual thing that committee members are now being asked to do. I also have to reapply as the chair. Really, all you will do is just send me an email saying, yes, I want to be on this committee. It's very straightforward. There's not actually an application. Um, but I'll be sending that out in the next couple of probably next week. And then, like I was mentioning earlier, we will have to shift our February meeting. That is probably going to be on the 23rd, hopefully. Which but it might have to be on the same day as the commission's um, Council Committee of the Whole meeting. And so if that is the case, we will have to start at 7 and not at 6:30, which is sort of an annoying futzy detail, but I will make sure that that's clear in the when I send that email out. Um,
Actually, you can also check in the past what we've done is just bounced it to the next day on a Tuesday. So you unless
I
there's a
was
corresponding meeting like transportation or
I think part
um,
of the I did think about that, Patrick, and I don't have the commission calendar in front of me, but I do think that one of the problems is that there is something on that Tuesday after. But that is part of the consideration because I think there's other meetings that are having to move around not because of the holiday, but because of some commissioner availability. So it might end up not being on a day that is Monday, which I would prefer for that not to be the case because I don't know about you, but I have sort of worked Monday into my schedule as something that is for ZPD. Um, but that will be that will that will be communicated uh, when we have more information about that. Um, the other thing that I wanted to quickly discuss is there is some interest from some of our um, community members about having the Department of Buildings return to ZPD to give us an update. And just for you, Brad, Gabe, and Devin, because I know that you joined after this, we being ZPD, were pretty involved in the way in which the commission responded to the building collapse that was on 1113 V Street. And that included it included a resolution that we authored and that the commission approved um, that, for lack of a better word, admonished Department of Buildings, I think is a fairly accurate way of describing it, um, for the way in which the collapse happened and the response that they had afterwards. And then we had what I thought was a fairly productive meeting with the Department of Buildings Chief of Staff and Chief of Buildings. And Chief of Staff, Chief of Buildings, and Chief of Inspections, if I might be getting his title slightly wrong. Um, and they had a bunch of stuff that they said they were going to do. And some of the community members who are really active in this have been tracking it and are concerned that things have not necessarily changed. And so I think there's has been an ask that we invite them back to ZPD, or ask that they return to ZPD to discuss any of the updates or changes or what have you that they have implemented as a result of the building collapse. Um, And so I guess I'm wondering if any of you have any strong opinions about that. I'm feeling like it is a relatively easy ask to make, but we haven't sort of had the Department of Buildings be at the committee for a little bit, so it's kind of a blast from the past.
I would just suggest,
Yeah.
just in the emails that I've been getting, that we make sure that we clarify amongst ourselves whether or not we want them to come back to the committee and make a presentation, or whether they want to go to the commission and make a presentation. Because
Yeah.
he's been pushing them to go to the commission,
Commission, right. He
not
being
to
the
us.
Mr. Maloff, the community member who's very
And
engaged.
I've talked with him a couple of times,
Yeah.
and I mean, he's just I understand his wants and needs, but there's a certain amount of limitation that the ANC has, and there's a certain amount of limitation that DOB is going to respond to. But I'm not against them coming back to us
Yeah.
and that report to the commission, but I think it might be advantageous, Christian, if you check with Miguel to see whether he would like them to come and talk to the commission versus
Right.
the committee and give updates, because they've been asked and they did do the report, but they've never really followed up with the
With the commission, no. They declined, in fact, to go
exactly.
to the commission.
Exactly.
They said no, thank you. Um, yeah, so I that's a really good point, Patrick, because I think we're gonna get them at one or the other, not
Right.
both. And I think in some ways the commission is a little bit higher. Well, not in some ways. The commission is higher profile in the sense that more people are paying attention to it. They obviously wield a little bit more authority than ZPD. Um, and so, hi Karen, welcome. And so uh, I think that they would. My assumption is that they would feel more inclined to come to a ZPD meeting because it is less
Yeah. I'm just
intense.
suggesting,
But
just
yeah,
from a standpoint of being, shall I say, transparent, that if Miguel is okay with them making a presentation to the commission, I agree with you that they more than likely won't do it because they didn't do it last time. But it might be advantageous to ask them to either come to the commission or come to the committee, but come to one.
right.
If we only ask them to come to the committee, they're only going to come to the committee.
Right. Yeah, my it's on my list to well, not after this, but this week I'm gonna connect with Miguel just to to have that specific conversation. But I guess is there any reason that we feel like we shouldn't reach out to them?
I don't, personally speaking, I don't think. I
Okay.
mean, they did say they were going to come back and give us some updates, and they have not
Indeed,
done
they
that
did.
voluntarily. And we did get the report, which we read, but there's still some unanswered questions, and
Yes.
you know, as
The
much as
report
they're
famously answered very little
trying to
questions.
push some stuff through the city councils, they are
Oh.
not totally responding to some of the questions that we originally asked.
Yeah, and actually that reminds me, Patrick, that the one of the reasons why this is coming up right now is that there is a um, committee of the whole for the district council that will be covering this DOB, but not this building collapse, but DOB more generally on I think it's the
It's
28th.
20 something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Unless anyone feels strongly that we should sort of let this go, I will communicate to Miguel that we are interested in like engaging them in one way or another, whether or not it's at the commission or at the full commission or at the ZPD meeting. Karen, yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that you're talking about the
But
11/11
yes, yeah.
building collapse. Have now, as the commission, since it's in this commission, I see other commissions speaking about it, and I have not seen ANC 1B meet with the family. And only I know we're about community engagement, and I think and I know right before Christmas, they had a visual outside of the
Yeah,
location,
they do.
and but I was just always curious as to what 1B. I know that we talked about it in this committee, but I hadn't seen the actual outreach from 1B
I
to the
think that
family.
the I my understanding was that who's the commissioner of the who's the single member district? I think it's
This is one. I'm assuming this is still that's in 1B04, right? Isn't
yeah,
that
which
one B04?
is that
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yeah,
I
because
okay.
and the only reason why I keep seeing commissioners from the third, I mean from the third ANC three, I'm like,
Right.
and all the other places, and I understand everybody is really interested because it's a tragic incident.
Yeah.
Um, and I just was, I was always curious as to what is the footprint from ANC's 1B's
I
perspective
think that
because I haven't seen it.
Commissioner Lemon Strauss and Miguel have met with the family at some point over the last year.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I'm just okay.
but that's a good question. I actually don't. I think that is the case, but I don't. I'm I'm trying to sort of go. Excuse me. Go back and plumb my memory. I know that Commissioner Lemon Strauss and I both met the family members at the vigil. Um, and Mr. Maloff, who's been very active with the commission on this, has also spent some time with the family of the individual who passed.
Right. I know when he passed and everything that he's left and what here's my thing.
Yeah.
And only because my deep involvement with 1B Commission, I just really want to see us do a condolence card and some type of not necessarily a grant, but something to the family because they're struggling, but also just to show as a some act of support. And I know this is not this committee's purview, but since we consistently talk about zoning and
Yeah.
community engagement, I would recommend that we show some type of outreach from the outreach perspective in a formal way to the family. I mean, seeing you in the street and thoughts and prayers,
Yeah.
but I think that something that sort of formulates that ANC 1B really cares about this particular issue. Although we talk about it in this committee because we have talked about it strongly, I just really want to see some outreach there. That's all.
I can I like this idea, Karen, and I can follow up with Miguel just to make sure that I know what we have done. Um, and then I wonder if this is actually a really good the idea that you just brought up is a really good thing for the community engagement committee too.
It would come from the community
Right.
engagement committee, but what I want to see from this committee as just a strong recommendation to the community engagement
Yeah.
committee. That's what I would like to see, and I don't know, should I put it on the floor as a recommend?
I'll follow up with Miguel and then I'll shoot you an email to let you know what we have done and then maybe you and I can brainstorm
Okay.
something.
No, but I mean, with the committee members, I want to put it on the floor with the committee members to get their consensus
Oh,
to see
I see what you're saying.
what they
Sorry.
say. Because I mean, I'm not speaking. I'm only speaking of it because it's a very passionate issue for this committee, and we have done some considerable
Yeah.
amount of conversation about it. And I just think that it also that that we should show that we actually have whatever it is, not only with a letter, but a supportive instrument of some sort that would allow the family members to know that we do care. That's all.
Anyone have any I appreciate that, Karen. Does anyone have any thoughts about Karen's suggestion that we formalize some type of committee response to the family member?
Don't all speak at once, guys. I know how you guys want to raise your hands. The Zoom hands can move too.
Karen, can you just quantify, are you asking that the committee here recommend to another committee to do something?
Well, I'm asking because of, well, one, because of the considerable amount of conversation that we had specifically about this particular tragic situation from a zoning perspective. what I'm asking, because one of the main components of our engagement is making sure that we're having community engagement with whomever is working with this situation. So, although this is a tragic situation and it's not normally part of the zoning, I do understand that. But what I'm asking is that can we make a we could recommend from the chair of the zoning committee to recommend to the community engagement committee to, on behalf of ANC 1B's zone headed by the zoning, that we do some type of acknowledgement to the family of this tragic situation. And I think that sort of adds to the footprint of not only have we had committee discussions, but we also are really truly concerned about the outcomes with the family as well. So does that quantify what you're asking, Patrick?
It does, but I also want to. I guess at this point we do have a quorum. So then, do you want to make that a motion?
Well, that was what I was going to. I was asking our chair if that would be something that he thinks that we should bring. Is it okay if I bring that to the floor before I started with my motion? But I sort of wanted to get the temperature of our committee, as if they thought if you all thought that was something that should be brought, or I mean, and I was doing it under the realm of community engagement within the zoning. But
Yeah,
if it's
yeah.
too far out of our purview, I will table it. And just push it towards our get a. I just want at least the starting point to be a letter from the chair as a recommendation to the ANC's community engagement committee because of this tragic situation that happened under our purview as committee members
Then I
of the
would say
zoning.
then, Karen, that I don't think you necessarily need to have a motion, but a recommendation is what I think you're asking, that Christian send some communication
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
them.
and I
Right.
get that. I
And
just wanted to get the.
that I'm okay with that personally speaking. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. I'm fine with that. I think that's more
Right.
than
Patrick, you always speak for most of us.
I know he likes to, and I just want to make sure that I got to weigh in because I mean with everyone here, and I
Karen, I
just
think I
always like
think you're
working.
kind of overthinking it a little. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I'm not real invested in this, but yeah, I mean, I think it sounds like a sympathetic idea. It's really, I think what you're at point now is how do we go about doing this? Is it a resolution? Is it just a request of another, like the community development or community engagement committee or something like that, um,
Hmm.
to actually do something? But I think it sounds like a nice idea.
Yeah,
I think I'll make a recommendation. That,
I'm
and
sorry,
I'm not
Karen,
going
go
to
ahead.
overthink. No, Joel, I'm the queen of overthinking, so that's going to happen. So I just truly want to make sure that we do that, and I think that starting off the new year would be excellent. That's all. But thank you guys for listening to my overthinking.
I'm happy. I think Karen, I think this is I also like this idea. Um I will I think it probably uh I think maybe what I'll do is when I talk to Miguel about whether or not we want to have DOB come, I will also ask him about this. Um because it might just be like I know you didn't say that it had to be this, but I know you mentioned like a monetary amount, and I'm sure there are all kinds of restrictions on this. But
There's
I
no
will,
restrictions from the community engagement. I
yeah,
read from that. It's
I'll
no
just like figure
restrictions.
out what it is that I also don't even, I mean, we may have done something and I just don't know about it. Um, so I will follow up with Miguel to see what we have done if we've done something. And then maybe that's something, depending on what his answer is, we can either I can make a recommendation to Miguel that the community engagement committee take this up, or if it's something that makes sense to come from us, we can talk about it at our February.
Well, you already know that I just wanted to sort of get that segued in
Yeah,
because I don't want to introduce something inside of that committee without it being some type of note. So I'm
yeah,
recommending
totally.
that that you send a note. So that's under my recommendation. I apparently we had a second from Patrick and Joel seems to be on board. I'm just waiting for Gabe and Brad and Devin to
Yeah.
chime in.
Anyone
Well,
else have
I'm just
strong?
on a leash, Karen. I'm just on a leash.
I know. See, that's you're my favorite person to put on the leash. But so Gabe, Devin, and Brad, I'm ready for you guys.
Yeah, I don't have any objection. This I guess predates
But
my time as we
you're
discussed,
right.
but
You're right on point. You know exactly how to fall in. Perfect. Go ahead, Brad. Come on. It's you. It's
Yeah, no
you.
objections. Similar. This is before me, so I don't have many opinions on this.
And you know exactly how to do it too. Come on, Devin. We waiting on you, dude.
Yeah, no objections here.
There you go. That's the way it works.
Great.
Thank you,
All right. Well,
guys.
I'll follow up with Miguel, and then I'll follow up with you, Karen.
Thank you so much.
And just FYI, Christian, I
Yeah.
did look this up while we were talking. It is in Lemon Strauss's essay.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's what I thought. He was the commissioner who was at the vigil, so I assumed that
Yeah, yeah.
it was him.
Oh,
But
I knew exactly where it was. It's 1B04, so I knew that. I just wanted to make sure that we did something. Thank
yeah.
you so much, guys.
Um okay, well that's the end of housekeeping. Um uh so the actual stuff on our agenda, there's two things. One is that I thought we could do a sort of more, I know we have done introductions in the past, but I thought we could do one that was maybe a little bit more structured, and I also love an icebreaker. I know they're not everyone's favorite, but I'm the chair, so I get to decide. And so I'm gonna have us do an icebreaker, and then we can review the DC 2050 um, engagement thing that's up. I do actually think that it has a lot of really interesting um, or they're heading into a really interesting direction that is relevant to the committee. Um, but that might be something where we want to have someone from OP sort of walk us through it. The thing I will note about that is that it is closing on Friday. So that interactive tool will not be, it might be up, but it won't be interactive. Like you won't be able to provide feedback on it after then. So for the icebreaker, what I would like for us to, and I can get us started just since I'm the one whose idea this is. Um, but what I'd like for us to share is one, um, name, if you know what single member district you're in, um, and then so name single member district, um, where what you would consider to be your hometown, or if you have multiple, which one is your favorite? I know not everyone has a hometown that they think of, but if there's something that approximates that, and then why you why you sort of like what your interest is in the committee. And I know we've sort of over time shared these things, but what your interest is in the committee. So I'll go first. My name is Christian. Um, I am in 1B06, which is um, Chair Trinidad de Ramos single member district. My hometown is Moscow, Idaho. Um, and I originally joined CPD because I moved to the district about 2.5 years ago and I wanted to be more involved. And um, I actually wrote about the ANC system partially in my master's thesis, so I was pretty aware of the ANC system in DC and how unique it is, and so it was a really interesting opportunity to um, participate in local government. Um, and my professional background is in planning, so it made sense to be in, of all the committees, this one made the most sense. Um, so that's kind of what drew me to ZPD in the first place. And I will popcorn this. I was gonna say, so whoever wants to go next can. Does anyone really want to go next? Otherwise, I'll popcorn it to someone.
I'll go next,
Okay, fabulous. Thanks, Patrick.
since I'm the outlier. Uh, my name is Patrick Nelson. I am originally from a town called Massapequa Park on Long Island in New York, and moved here after I graduated from college. Um, and have lived in the city for well over 40 years. Oh my God, I'm dating myself. Um, why I'm on the ZPD? Oh, I should say, I am not actually any longer in 1B, so I can't tell you my SMD. I was in and have lived in this house for 30 years, so I was in 1B for 30 something years and got redistricted into a new ANC, but was asked to remain on this committee as an advisor since I have been working here for well over 12 years. And why I'm on the ZPD is because I got interested in zoning after I moved into my house here, and was asked after I was on the committee for a couple of years if I would be interested in sharing it, which then got me involved in really delving into zoning and the codes and how all of it works. So I chaired this committee for almost 10 years. And then when I was pushed out because of the rezoning or the reallocation of the SMDs, as I said, I was asked to stay on. So I'll end there because I could probably bore you guys shitless with stuff I could talk about.
Never stopped you before.
Okay, Joel, no comments from the peanut.
Okay, I guess that, it sounds like it would have been the perfect time to call me, and since I set myself up. But yeah, I've been on the committee about as long as Patrick, I guess. I kind of backed into it. We'll start the other way though. My name is Joel Heisey. I don't live in the district. I have a house in LaDroit Park, and I kind of got backed into being on the committee because we kind of resurrected the historic review process through the ANC, and then the ANC eventually reconstituted this committee. So that's how long it's been.
Mhm.
We've been here forever. Um, I'm a practicing architect, so this is kind of what I do. I have public administration degrees, urban design degrees, um, and I've always worked in community development work. So this is just kind of something I've kind of backed into.
In hometown.
Oh, I don't live anywhere.
In
I
the
live.
clouds.
I lived here since '91. Originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but been a few other places as well. Okay, that's it.
I don't know if no one's going. I'm Brad Solly, and I'm in 08 and 1B. I'm originally from Sharon, Pennsylvania, a small town on the western side. And before that, though, I lived in Miami for 7 years. I moved here 13 years ago, and I've been in the same 2 block radius for the past 13 years that I've lived here, around 14th in Florida, now 12th in U. I got involved with this committee just because I work for the federal government, so I'm really interested in local government, and I wanted to learn more about zoning. Just living in this area for a short amount of time, you see how much has changed. So I think it's really important to be part of the neighborhood and see how things are changing and growing.
can go next. Yeah, I'm in ANC 1B06 along with Christian. Um, yeah, I'm originally from Columbia, Missouri, and moved to DC about a year and a half ago. My interest in the committee is partially, I guess, related to my job. I work in affordable housing, and you know, that's the issue I really care about most, at least on a local level. So wanting to be on the committee really stems out of that. Um, and yeah, I moved to a new place and looking for a way to like get involved and get to know my neighbors and all of that. So um, those are sort of my motivations. And is that everything I was supposed to touch on? Okay.
Yes.
I guess I can go next. Um, Evening, everyone. I am Devin Reed. I am in 1B06. I live across the street from Christian. Uh, let's see here. Miguel is my SMD. Uh, let's see here. What were the other ones? Why did I join this committee? I studied urban planning in college and always enjoyed it, though I went to a different career. This is a way to keep involved and like participate in things that matter a lot to me and to everyone we share the city with. Um, I'm particularly interested in the city's upcoming comp plan and yeah. Oh, hometown. I am originally from a town in New Hampshire called Hanover. Anyone's ever heard of it?
Yeah, there's a little college there.
No, just a little one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's my mother worked there, and yeah, went from. I went to school in Minnesota though. Enjoyed the cold.
You just wanted to get away from mom. Not
Yeah,
knocking
I
it.
didn't
I
want to
did
get
the
away from the
same.
ice and the snow.
I moved out right after high school.
Yeah.
I also grew
Um,
up in a college town, and my mom worked at the university, and I did not go. I actually went to Dartmouth. So Devin and I have a
all
strange
connected all over
connection.
the way. I guess I moved to the district. Oh, golly, right after graduating, didn't even go home. So May of 2019, I've been here, and yeah, thank you.
All right, Karen, all you.
Now, although I'm the cutest, I've been in DC the longest.
We don't know, Karen.
Than
We
all
never
of you
see you.
guys. Oh, you see me all the time. That nice picture is actually me. I don't think you guys need me to put my smile on because it'll brighten up the whole day, and as it normally does. Native Washingtonian. My background is my degrees are in public policy and urban planning and public administration. I have been interested in doing everything that I possibly can do to be involved in my community. I grew up in this area, in and then also in Ward 4, which was the most part of my young life was in Ward 4, but my older life was in Ward 1. And I've been extremely involved in every stitch of Washington D.C. If you guys haven't met me, I'm always willing to get to know you in person. And as you may or may not know, I am the chairwoman of our third district under the Metropolitan Police Department and the public safety director. I worked to bring businesses from all the quarters in Washington, D.C. together and residents, 180,000 residents together, in order to make sure that they are really well versed in what public safety is and what it can do for them. And but my main interest in the zoning and planning committee is because when I heard that Joe Heisley was on here, I said, I've got to meet him and Brad. They were the architects. I have always been fascinated with architecture, and so I wanted to fangirl a little bit and get to enjoy the wealth of this committee, which I've been participating on what since what 2015, 13, 15, something like that. Yeah, 2013. And I've been involved in all of the various committees with ANC 1B. So that's me in a nutshell. Just a happy go lucky person.
Mhm.
Always happy to engage with our community in every way. But not too technical, but I'm learning a lot. I just love that I can learn a lot from everyone. So I'm looking forward to enjoying each one of your companies. I know that each one of you guys are attached to Christian, and so I know where to go in order to meet you all. Thank you.
I'm bummed. I'm bummed. I
Thanks,
thought
Karen.
you joined this committee because of my personality.
Oh, Patrick,
Well, it certainly wasn't my
you
personality, Patrick.
look, Patrick, you're right. Because you know what? Actually, Patrick, I if look, first of all, I had to go through the gamut. You guys don't know the initiation that I had to go through. You guys have it really easy. They burnt me so many times. You guys, y'all have
Well, and
Hey,
no
also,
idea.
Karen, you're on the Economic Development Committee and Public Safety.
And
I'm
Housing.
in every committee that you can imagine.
Okay,
If it's in 1B, but
yeah,
I'm actually I don't think they have one that I'm not on yet. And if it
I love
is, then
that.
I haven't heard about it. But the reason why I'm always involved is because one, I really do, excuse me, I believe in community engagement. I really believe that it's important that we always have all voices heard at the table. And if I can bring people to the table, then I certainly invite them to know about what's going on in ANC 1B. And
Little
because
known fact,
I
Karen.
do have
Just
two properties here too, because
Oh,
this is this is my hometown. Thank you. What was your fact, Patrick?
I was going to say, little known fact, just to make you laugh, that
Yes.
prior to you starting your tenure on the multiple committees, I
Mm-hmm.
was on every single committee, and
See?
I was told flat out, you're spreading yourself too thin, and your voice is on every single committee, so you need to chair one so that you can have something to do and not go on every single committee.
Well, you want me to tell you the amazing part about me being the beautiful, voluptuous woman that I am? They didn't never tell me I was spreading myself too thin.
Okay.
all right. Thanks, everyone. Okay, the second thing that I was going to just to move us along, the second thing on our very light agenda was to look at the DC 2050, the current sort of engagement thing that's up for DC 2050. I've put it into the chat. Um, just to give some of you a sense of where this is happening in the planning process, and I'm sure some of you probably also know this, but my understanding at least is that within DC, as it relates to DC 2050, we're starting to sort of narrow OP is narrowing their focus so that we're getting a little bit more specific about the types of feedback they're collecting from people. Um, and they are starting to sort of envision real policy change, um, even if it's at a relatively high level, um, for the comp plan. So in this document, the thing that seems, at least to me, in this engagement thing that seems to be there's two sort of primary like things that they're sharing with us. One is this concept called a place type, um, which they are framing as as a way to sort of, well, I don't know, they didn't say it like this explicitly, but in my mind, it seems like a place type is a way for them to more efficiently describe the um, land use categories that they had in the previous comp plan and which were active in the FLUM, another a crazy acronym which stands for Future Land Use Map. Um, this seems to me to be like an attempt by OP to simplify um, the land use categories. Um, and then the other part of this is soliciting feedback from community members about where they think um, the district how they think the district should can grow and where they think the growth should happen. Um, I think for our purpose today, the thing that is probably the most relevant, just because our neighborhood, maybe you don't feel this way, but our neighborhood is pretty dense already, and it's regularly growing, um, especially over the last 10 years. It's grown a lot. But there is a lot of the place types that they outline in um, this tool are actually present in ANC 1B. Um, and so the changes that they're suggesting there seem to be the of all the things that are being suggested in this document, those changes seem to be the most relevant. Um, so now that I've said that, I guess I'm wondering if anyone has been able to take their time to go through the activity. And just full disclosure, I have not actually participated all the way to the end. I have looked through everything, but I haven't participated all the way to the end. So that is on my list of things to do.
I haven't looked at it all the way to the end either, but I was really, really happy because this is the first time they actually did this digital outreach in this way because I
Yeah,
noticed that I'm assuming that they want to make it clear that they're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's because the engagement issue with people being able to get to some of these locations that they were having it. And then also they did not notice, this is from me asking, they didn't notice that it was the input, the full input that they was originally planning. I remember a lot of the other ones that they had before people would go in, sit at tables and
yeah,
have
yeah,
these big powwows, which was great. I just think that you know, I although this instrument is here to be utilized by the community, my concern is that I don't want to call out agencies in a bad way. I just think that it's just like they're putting it there to sort of cover themselves, but I really want to see them do some more outreach to the various neighborhoods to let them know that this instrument is there. You get what I'm saying?
yeah,
They need to do more outreach for this particular comp plan um by going to people, speaking to people, getting their people out on the street and not making the assumption that the online portal will be the only way in which they can reach people. They're just doing this to cover their hindparts. So
yeah. Well,
that's what
what?
I'm unfortunately I dislike. I love the fact that they are doing it. I
Yeah,
just don't like I don't think that I just think that they're not using all of the resources to make sure that they're doing the outreach because I really do want to see people really tap into this and have their kitchen table dinner and conversations where everyone is weighing in on this particular situation, the comp plan. That's my 2 cents. Thank
Where
you.
you're saying they're going through the motions, but not really engaged.
Yes, that's I didn't have the brevity, but that's exactly what I wanted to say. I
hmm.
want to say it, but I was trying to be as nice about it as I could, but you're right.
See, that's the
I
problem. I
will,
just put it right out there.
I
One of
Yeah,
my
will
old
I
bosses
say,
said,
know.
I'm not very diplomatic. I said, I can be when I want to be. It's just that most times I get so bored with somebody not actually addressing the point that needs to be addressed.
That's correct. You're diplomatic with me, Joel, but the thing is this is that and you are always diplomatic with me. I just wanted to one of the things that I am concerned about, I and my role in the community has always been to be very diplomatic, but I really don't like the way that it's being done. I don't like a lazy approach to dealing with the community. So that's my
Yeah.
only thing, Christian.
I might push back on that a little bit,
I was
Karen. I
going
don't
to
I
say
don't know
that
if I agree that it's a lazy approach. Um
I mean, I love this. Okay, first of all, the tool, the dashboard, the tool, and everything is beautiful. But I think that when I say lazy, let me rephrase that. This looks perfect on paper. It looks perfect online. However, if you do a survey, which I'm always in the community surveying, that's For some reason,
Yeah.
I don't know why my name is Survey Queen, but I'm always in the community doing surveys to find out what the community temperature is. But if you actually do some outreach, Christian, you'll find out that a lot of people have no clue what's going on. They might have seen a couple of they did a couple of informational sections. I think what, like two or three of them, and I don't think that they were well attended. Only a few segment of the population really attended it. DC has 717,000 people.
Yeah.
We need to get more input about what's going on, especially so that we don't end up looking like we do in some of the places. And Joel, I
I'm listening.
I want I there's certain places that are constructed in the most eyesore type ways that we should not see our city look. And I'm gonna let Joe fill in the rest of the blanks, but that's all I can say nicely.
You mean that when one of my friends from Swaziland and I were riding down Martin Luther King one time, he said, "I feel like I'm back home." You mean that kind
Right,
of thing?
that kind of stuff. I was
And
like,
Karen,
yes,
is there
sir.
anything in the like is there anything about the land use or the place types that you think might like do you
I'm not that the part I shared with you, Christian,
yeah, it's
is
just
what
the
I'm ready to share.
okay.
However, a little bit more information I want to be able to share, but I do want to make sure that I meet the deadline so I don't have my stuff in limbo. I don't
Yeah.
want to have to restart um my post on this.
Yeah.
But I'll give you some more feedback. I don't mind. But
No, I know. Yeah.
Gabe has his hand up.
Yeah, Gabe, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, sorry, you caught me mid-bite there, but
No, no worries.
um yeah, Karen, I think your point is a good one. I thought at one point going through the tool there was can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's giving me a notification that I'm not speaking, so
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure. But um there was a tool where you could place pins in your neighborhood where you saw like the possibility for more housing and things like that. I did think it was very notable that there were a lot of pins kind of in Ward 1 and, next to no pins in like Ward 8, for example. So yeah, I mean, I think that points to what you're saying, Karen, that like people might not know this tool
Exactly.
is
Yeah,
out there.
totally.
Exactly. That now you see the way it's easy to gauge. And I'm not saying it's lazy, but that just lets you know who's actually putting
Yeah.
there and where people are talking about it. And the same type of the kitchen table conversations need to be held in the various areas that doesn't have any pins in it.
Yeah.
And if I was the director of this department, I would have my people out, boots on the ground, in those areas where I do not see any engagement. And that is a measurement stick of what kind of work they're doing. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. And I didn't want to, and when I start getting passionate about these subjects, as if you guys have already met me in the various other committees, I don't want you guys to think that I'm just this is proof in the pudding that this is not working, and you or the people who are supposed to be doing it is not doing their job. So get yourselves out of your office, get into these areas, and go and talk to these people. Bring your ugly clipboards and your polo shirts and go talk to them. Have people sit at the tables, talk to them to find out what they want in these areas, because I can tell you there's a lot of opinions, but people need to collect them in other ways besides this. I mean, you could just take your laptop with you and just have the conversation and fill in this information for people. You have to do some old fashioned work. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm sharing my, hopefully you can see this, but I'm sharing my screen. You can see kind of what you were describing, Gabe. There's
Yeah.
very little
Yeah. You would hope the
feedback.
next step would be
I
using
would
this map
say
to engage
Yeah.
where there are holes.
I would just interject. I totally don't disagree with Karen. She's on target with what she's saying. But I will say from past experience in dealing with how they've done the comp plan in the past and the interactiveness, this is far, far, far of an improvement over what they've done in the past. And even when they did community meetings where they went out to the community, like Karen is suggesting, they didn't get anybody to attend. So I think they've tried to go into the modern mode of putting this up online, but to the point that Karen is making, which I agree with, is some of us are old folk and don't have computers and don't
Mm,
their whole life on a phone and have no ability to navigate and understand all this stuff. And if you really want to get the pulse of people on this kind of a project, you really do have to go out and pull them out of the weeds, so to speak, and get them involved because this whole process for the general populace of people, they're clueless. They don't even know what you're talking about. And without some real education on what is 2020 and what is its purpose and why are we doing this, you're not going to get people to even go online and read this because they're just not going to be interested.
And what I don't want to see, and this is what is really getting my passion up on this, is that I don't want to see this being done and then people feel like it's done to them and they haven't offered any
mm,
input. And it is constantly the case. And I know, and we know that people work. We know that people as they're not as technologically savvy, or there's no educational awareness as to what it is and how effective it is and what it truly means to your community. And I think that the onus is on the director to basically see what's going on and do a week by week update from their staff to see who's getting out there to get the word out. This is a management issue, and when we have the oversight hearings with council, I'm going to bring this up because this is what stinks, and this is what they're going to try to use as, oh, we've done this and look at what we did. This bright new shiny tool is beautiful. I love the dashboard. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just that the dashboard also has the telltale signs of you guys did not get out there and get engaged with the people who it was meaning to you needed to get engaged with. I do like it as a measurement tool for what's good and what isn't good, because that way it does tell the true nature of exactly how much engagement actually happened. So it's going to tell on them if people really do hone in on the fact that this particular, various areas throughout Washington D.C. was not really engaged. That's all I want to say about it before I really start getting on my soapbox. Thank you.
um, I think it's really interesting hearing these things because I'm sure you all know this, but my professional job is doing community engagement for planning projects. Um, so am feeling I'm feeling a little defensive of these folks because they are me. But I appreciate all the things that you said, Karen, because I do think that it's like a constant uh calculus of trying to figure out like, well, how do you how do we make sure that these things get to the people who we want them to get to? Um, and if they're not getting to the people that we want them to get to, what do we have to change in order to get them there? Um, and part of that is making sure that you're really adaptive.
Yeah.
Um, and I agree with you. I haven't necessarily seen the Office of Planning be super adaptive in terms of like their approach. It seems to be a similar, this aside, I don't know. I haven't experienced previous comp plans, um, but this type of thing is, I think, for me, really helpful. But I understand that like it's,
It's awesome. Okay, and listening to you.
but
Okay, Patrick actually said it right, Christian. I mean,
yeah,
last year and year before it was crappy. I mean, it was some engagement, and this what I'm trying to see is okay. people may not have shown up because we've had so much going on with chaos going on, and the
Totally.
engagement level has not been on this level, and people are not thinking here. But this is something that they're cutting off. The date cutoff is what, the 19th of this month.
Yeah.
And you have people. What I would do as from a manager, and I think they're trying to meet the oversight hearing deadlines. That's just what I'm assuming, which
Oh,
is
interesting.
February. Okay, and that's what and they want to have something to bring forward and say, do me a favor, hold that, so I can screenshot that real quick. Give me a second,
Yeah.
because I want to
Yeah,
capture.
I mean, I think a really good I'm cutting you off a little bit, Karen, but I think a really good example that I always talk to my planning colleagues about is that if you want to provide interpretation or translation at a meeting, because you like, let's say you want to make sure that your community that you're working in has a lot of Spanish speakers in it, and you want to make sure that that demographic of community member has access to the plan and is represented in the feedback. You can't just have a meeting that has interpretation because I would say 9.9 times out of 10, you will advertise a meeting that has interpretation at it and nobody will come because you haven't done any other legwork to make sure that those individuals feel comfortable coming to the meeting, that they even know that it's happening, that the advertisement has been in their language. The number of times that I've worked in, not necessarily where I am now, but in Massachusetts where I worked with people who translated the flyers for a meeting, but then didn't provide interpretation at the meeting that they translated the flyers for. It's sort of like there has to be like a full service like situation here, and that sort of sounds like what you're saying, that like this interactive tool is one cog in the machine that gets the feedback from the right people, from all the people who we should be getting feedback from.
Well, at the bare
And it's
minimum,
a
they should
beautiful
be
cog.
going
It,
out to every
and
single ANC, every single ANC,
Yeah.
and
right.
promoting it through that. That's a community thing that a lot of people show up on, and they've not. I mean, I know for a fact they've not done that.
Not with
Oh,
this. I think they
Right.
came a few like in July, I think, or something
yeah,
like that. They came to the ANC meeting, but they didn't come with this thing.
right, but
They came to
they're
us
not
because
doing it to every
first
single
of all,
one because
ANC
we
1B is
asked.
very engaged.
Well, right, we probably asked
Right.
them, to be honest.
ANC 1B is extremely engaged with the office because of our past histories. We've been very engaged with the Office of Planning. However, my thing is people need to DC having like 5,000 agencies doesn't really allow some people who have some other pressing needs to see that this is going to change the dynamics of where they live. And they need to know that. They need to know when you want to have change in your city, this is in your area, this is the way to go. Although you have your ANC people, that's fine. But what they look at Ward One like, man, people in Ward One, they are always engaged, and that's true. I'm a little bit biased on that. They're always engaged in Ward One. However, I also look at people that I know and love that's throughout the city who has not even smelt or seen this type of information, and I would love to see them be able to have it in the community centers, as Patrick mentioned, the
Yeah.
ANC meetings, in their various electoral meetings. They need to be engaged with the Office of Planning's information. I'll reach out to the mayor's office, as a matter of fact. I'll call them tomorrow and let them know. And then also, I'll call the Office of Planning, because this is starting to spark a little bit more energy than I expected, because the 19th is coming up very soon,
Yeah.
and we need to make sure that that we get some, some people in those areas, to cover these folks so that they won't feel left out. This picture right here is similar to what it looked like at the various meetings. And those were really wonderful meetings, to have the people sit down and talk about what's going on, and help them with the planning and just walk through. Those are really good engagement meetings. I just think people may not have wanted to spend the money, or because of our political climate that we have going on in DC, that sort of hampered that a little bit. That's all.
Yeah, I will say I have a little bit of sort of inside insight from the Office of Planning because of some a friend that works there, and the unexpected mid-year budget cut that the district experienced, that $1 billion,
Yeah.
um, really did a number on this engagement funding,
You're
unfortunately.
right. You're right. Because
But
I've seen a lot of people's grants get swiped
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Well,
So
and that one was not even a grant funded. This was like they just like they the district basically put in a hiring freeze. They couldn't spend any money on printing. They couldn't spend any money on it was crazy the things
they
that they
tightened
were.
up their belts,
Yeah.
and it was expected. The mayor said she was bringing a hatchet to everything, and I
Indeed,
understood
she
that.
did say that.
And she
Okay,
literally did it too.
I want to just sort of touch on the core thing here, and that is these place types. So, for those of you who are not necessarily familiar, the previous um, sort of land use uh, tool that the Office of Zoning had was called, in terms of the comprehensive plan, was called the Future Land Use Map or the FLUM. And I sent the link in the chat. I would recommend going into the FLUM and exploring it. It is, I think, quite interesting. But it has all of these comprehensive land use categories that are further broken down into additional categories. And so you can see there's right here, there's four residential categories from low to high density. There's commercial, there's institutional, federal, etc. And so this, my understanding, and I'm sure um, one of you will correct me if this is wrong, but my understanding is that the flum is sort of like the stick against which we assess, or not we, but the district assesses development and zoning changes, applications for zoning changes, so that that way, if an applicant comes in for development, um, that they want to do something specific and that requires a zoning change, the the Office of Planning and the Office of Zoning assesses whether or not that meets the expectations set out in the future land use map. So the FLUM itself, those residential categories are not necessarily those land use categories, excuse me, are not necessarily what's there on the ground. It's what the Office of Planning expected to be there um, over the lifetime of the last comprehensive plan update until the current one. Um, it is understandably pretty complicated, and I think that the Office of Planning has experienced what a lot of planners have, and that is that the world has changed in ways that nobody expected um, since the previous plans were adopted, and so there's this interest in having a more flexible, streamlined. This is my interpretation. Flexible, streamlined, um, like comprehensive plan expectation, and so they basically have this is kind of how they describe what a place type is. That it's outcome oriented, it's intended to be clearer, um, and that it's specifically focusing on equitable growth, um, by providing consistent policies across neighborhoods, instead of emphasizing development in some neighborhoods, not others. Um, and then they basically, it looks like to me what they did is they took the um, existing types from the future land use map and sort of converted them into these new place types. Um, and that those place types will be the thing that characterizes the new, if I don't know if they're going to call it the future land use map, but if they do, the new future land use map for DC 2050. So just as an example, in the residential neighborhoods, they've converted these into my assessment of this is that it's largely symbolic in terms of like the words that they're using to describe the category. So instead of residential low density, they're saying small scale residential neighborhoods, medium scale, moderate, large, etc. The thing that seems to be the most significant, and this is really, I think, relevant to us because we have a bunch of this. I'll scroll down and show you the map. We have a bunch of these centers in our ANC, but the DC-20 the previous comp plan has a lot of different mixed use categories, both in the zoning but also in the land uses, and it's just I think in my own experience it has become a little unwieldy and hard to keep track of. Um, and they are simplifying these into three different center types. So we're going from 55 to three, which is quite a lot, I would say. Um, and so they haven't used the land use category from the FLUM because, again, there are 55, but they've kind of summarized the categories into three different descriptions, and that's what these new place types are. So, in terms of like a regional center, I see your hand, Karen. Just give me 1 second. So, in terms of a regional center, on the I'm going to scroll down past the other thing, but on this map. And for some reason, my computer won't let me fully zoom in, so I can't go farther than this. I know it's teeny tiny, but you can see the regional center is this red. So obviously, a lot of downtown is red, but this one right here where my cursor is, that is the police station, and this other red that's also in our area is the Reeve Center, yes, thank you. And then this other red, this is kind of like this urban center, regional center combination is Howard University Hospital, and the DC Finance Building. Um, the DC Housing Finance Building, sorry, where the commission normally has its meetings. So we have a bunch of like urban centers in here too, and then also you can see that all up and down 14th Street is an urban center as well, and that I think reflects the fact that we have that, the parcels that abut 14th Street are often mixed use. Karen, you had a
Well, I just wanted to sort of, I was thinking you were going to elaborate on your I know by them narrowing down the 59 to 3, and
yeah,
to make it a little bit more digestible for the layman who doesn't really know
yeah,
everything about urban planning. Um I now I can share my opinion, but I was curious about yours, because of this is where you're at and what you're dealing with every day.
yeah,
Um, my concern is manipulation of the items according to. I'm just under I have high concern about certain things because I know that people tend to change things just as quickly as they went from 59 to 3. What happens within that 3, with whatever kind of goals they have within that 3, I
yeah,
sort of want to see exactly what it is that they say goes into those pots. I see
totally.
the narrowing, but if you were able to drop it down from 59 to 3, which as you mentioned is a huge drop, my concern is that something is going to be done where someone is going to either get shortchanged, or something is going to be overly saturated and neglected, or
Yeah,
um, it's going to be manipulated where somebody is going to be without something, and that's my concern. So I do want to know what's going into those pots and how it's going to be monetarily um given back to the public, because the public ends up getting getting that particular definition weighed in when we get our property taxes, when we want to buy
mm,
businesses, when we want to um, have whatever we want in the city. All of a sudden, we're told, no, that's a one, that's a number one, that's a number two, that's a number three, out of the 59. And then so we've lost rights to a lot of public spaces. We lost rights to a lot of things. So I'm curious as to what
that's a
actually went into those spots. That's all.
it's a really good question. I mean, I don't think they've articulated the answer to that yet, like what would be in these mixed uses, because but I guess what I would say is that my assumption is that they will do that, or they'll do it based on feedback, or they'll do it based on something else. Um, I would be surprised if they didn't, because I do think that what sort of the thing that you're talking about is what we would call a taking, where like, and that would put the district at legal crosshairs. Like they could be sued for that. And so it's something that, at least in my work, we think really carefully about. If we're trying to like change zoning in some way or another, we have to make sure that we're not doing it in a way that constitutes a taking, which is where you like materially reduce the value of piece of land on purpose. It's more complicated than that. I'm not explaining it in super detail, but yeah, I mean, I think
Well,
I have the
it's
same concern, Karen.
eminent domain.
No,
It's eminent domain
different than
for.
eminent domain.
Right. No. Well. If you replace the certain usage of a location, and if my property or your property, whomever's property falls within that use location, and it changes our property value, it changes the designation for what
Yeah,
we were originally using that area for. If you know, I'm like, and you're taking, if you're taking away from community, if you're taking away from those who don't have, it's all kinds of different angles that I'm
totally.
concerned about, especially when you start when you start categorizing things and people don't even know what category they're falling into. We've seen this happening because there is a huge urge or interest in taking a lot of the district's land away from the district residents, and the land that people in within the district want to use it for their parks. Look at Langston Golf Course, all the different golf courses. Look at our various parks that we're dealing with, where we're looking at, and Rock Creek Park is going through an issue. The conservatory, the Carter Barron is going through an issue. It's so many different things that's happening, and we need to know specifically what is happening and what did they chart those
Yeah.
particular areas as. That's all. And that's
I'm
why
ass
I'm really concerned.
yeah, I'm assuming that they'll include like, I'm assuming that there will be a description under neighborhood center that has like uses, for instance. But I do think that like one thing that's always a risk when you I think on the one hand, I guess my sort of opinion, my sort of feeling about this is that on the one hand, having like 55 uses is untenable from the point of view of like managing development. It just is really easy for those uses to overlap or become complicated or um, be very bespoke, and not necessarily like contribute actually to an efficient development process that also achieves community benefits. Um, but on the other hand, I do think that there is a risk when you, like exactly what you're saying, Karen, when you reduce something, when you simplify something so much that then it becomes vague, it opens the door for what I think the word you used was manipulation. I would assume that my maybe I'm being a Pollyanna about this, but my I'm trusting OP a little too much. Um, but I would assume that that those things under like mixed use, neighborhood center, urban center, regional center, as well as all the residential and the special uses and stuff, all of these land use types, these place types will have um more specific uses outlined under them. Because I would imagine that for a neighborhood center, for instance, you would want something different than what's at a regional center. Um, you know what I mean? Like the type of development that we might want in on K Street is not the type of development we'll want on Florida. And so they'll have to just, I would assume they would have to distinguish between
And
these different mixed use categories so that it's more clear what we mean by neighborhood center versus urban center versus regional center. But I don't think they've done that here, so it is sort of a question mark for me
yeah,
still.
because historically we, and I'm speaking from a historian because
Yeah.
I'm a history nut, and I can speak clearly from the historical point of view. about what's happening in DC and what has happened in DC, excuse me. And so I look at it from that point of view. Um, and I also do not want to see those folk who may be able to weigh in a little bit more clearly because it is in their area and they
Yeah.
live there. I want to have their voices heard when someone is recategorizing where they live and where they work and where they like to enjoy their leisure time. And so I feel as though there is going to be some decisions made about locations that may could be have a better use. Say, for instance, if they categorize something that probably could have a different category number.
Mm.
I just think it's something. This is where my initial conversation that I brought forward earlier really leads back to. And I think that we can only really get the full deep dive if we have full engagement, um,
Yeah.
so that people know. Do you know that this is going to happen and that you can actually say something about what would happen on your block here and what's the possibilities? And this is what urban the office what the office is planning, is looking forward to changing the categorization of this ABCDEFG. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be a printed ish. A lot of people are on their phones, but it's just we need to do some blasts via Instagram and all the social media. They need to do more outreach and something in circles where people who they need to reach speaks to them. And even here in Ward 1, although we had some beautiful engagement, but the players may be the same players. It may not be the people who are working hard but really want to come home and enjoy something. We need to
Yeah.
talk to them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. So this is the I scrolled down a little bit and there's this description of urban center. So they actually do have like a sort of high level allowable uses, housing, offices, hotels, and retail uses. Retails uses. I'm sure that's a typo, but uh you know they're saying what's allowed. They're not saying what's not allowed. I think that they'll have to articulate that a little bit more. But in terms of the regional center, this is um also sort of I would describe as relatively vague. Um, we're approaching 8 o'clock. I wonder if any of the rest of you who are here with us have any thoughts about like what, excuse me, how these place types um, and their application on the map. Let me scroll back up. If you have any thoughts about how that is showing up in our sort of our little ANC right here in the center.
And I apologize as I shared up all of my opinions with you guys and you loved them so much that you don't have anything to offer to us.
It's I mean this is complicated stuff. I mean I think part of it is that I'm not really sure even how I feel yet about some of these things. Um
Well, I love the way, first of all, this is stuff that I love, okay? I just love this type stuff, right? Like I told you, I like the way that they have everything out and it's just like a dream. I enjoy it, but I just want to see it translated where it's working for
we
the
want more
rest of the
specifics, yeah.
community. I really want I really want we're speaking to 1B, yes, but I'm speaking, I always look big picture. We need to really speak to the rest of the community in the city on this, so that they can really feel the joy of looking at what their neighborhood can look like up into 2050. And I do know that the monies is a problem,
Do
is
you think
right
do you
now.
think, Karen, that there would be an appetite for like because I know that we've done something like this with ANC before, not ZPD necessarily, but the ANC has done our own sort of engagement meeting for ANC 1B residents where we've kind of I think mostly we did this with the police station. I want to say where there was like engagement meetings about the police station and we invited district staff, but it was being hosted by us. I'm wondering if that's something that we would be.
I think we should have some salon, a little
Yeah,
bit, not, here's the thing, not necessarily at the police station. This is something you would have at a bar or something like
not the
that.
police
Something,
station. Yeah,
no,
I don't want
definitely not at the police
it's a
station.
nice meeting room, but I would do it somewhere that's
And
bigger.
I know you don't have to put the X up with the police station. Look, you
It's
see
too
me,
small, I think, unfortunately.
yeah, and but you know how much I love doing the police station stuff, but
I know, I
I,
know, I know.
okay.
It's a nice space, but it's too small for something like
But
this.
we need something. What we need is a comfortable location where we can get people
Yes,
together,
I agree.
and have these conversations. But the diversity is necessary. The people who are the moms and the dads and everybody who's the weekend warriors who really need to, who everybody's at work during the day for the most part. We need
Yeah,
to pull people from their comfort zones and let them know, guess what? Do you plan on being in DC for X number of years? This is what you can look like for your urban landscape. We really need to get them at the table and talk about what's on the table, what it looks like. And it needs to be in a comfortable setting. HFA is a good setting, but I think that what they need is to set up some tables, make it comfortable so that
yeah,
people
and
can sit down
I
and
will say
talk.
sometimes it's a little off-putting that you have to like go through this whole sign-in thing to get in. Um,
Yeah, that's true,
I
but
understand
I
it,
don't
but
think
it's
people
like it
care.
does seem like you can't just walk in.
Well, the Reef Center is worse. I
I
mean,
haven't been in the Reeve Center.
the Reef Center, you have to go through security and frisking
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that stuff, and that's horrible. I really want it to be a comfortable, engaging
yeah,
atmosphere where people can come in and they're already comfortable and they're ready to talk and not feel encumbered by, as you mentioned, the entry points.
yeah,
But they need to come in and be willing to sit down and talk with each other as a group, and but we need to sell it in a way that it's not something that's so prescriptive, but it's really really necessary. i
yeah.
I think we should have that engagement, yes. So that
Okay.
was my answer, my long-term answer.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, we are at 8 o'clock. I think hopefully this was helpful and informative. I know the engagement tool is a lot to digest, but if you have the ability to sort of dig your way through it between now and the 19th, I would highly recommend. Um, it will set us up really nicely to engage with the comp plan through the ANC. I think a lot of that engagement will be happening through the joint committee, which I know I mentioned via email. I don't have a lot of detail about that yet, but I know that a handful of you have told me that you're interested in it. You are on my list. And so when I understand what the structure of that will be from our chair, Miguel, I will be reaching out. But that will enable us to sort of like there's basically 4 or 5 of the committees that are directly related to the comp plan stuff. And so it didn't really make sense for us to be trying to do each committee trying to do our own little comp plan thing. Um, and I think the commissioners felt that it would be a little bit more efficient to have a special committee.
Last
Karen,
way
did you?
in. Yes, yes, sir. This is my last way in,
Yeah,
and I did not expect to be so verbose tonight. But in any case, have you gotten the commitment from everybody on the committee of whether or not they want to stay on board with us on you with you for
with
this
the
year?
committee.
Yes, sir. That was
Oh,
my
that is I mentioned that at the very beginning, which now I'm
I'm
realizing maybe
sorry
was
I
before
missed
you
it.
joined.
He
But
came in after.
yes, we will I'll be sending an email out this week asking everyone to reapply. This is kind of like a formality really that the commission has asked committee chairs to do. And then I will also be reapplying as a committee chair.
I
Um,
thought we were just having to just say yes and
yeah,
not
you'll just
reapply.
send me an email saying, yes, I'd like to be on this committee still,
Oh,
basically.
okay.
Yeah, that's it. it's not, there's no application. It's more of a formality than it is anything else. But yes, thank you for asking that. That is coming. Um, so uh, hopefully we will be back to our sort of regular programming in February with some cases to look at. As some of you have been tracking, we have this mysterious um, massage parlor or not variant special exemption application case that seems to have been lingering in purgatory somewhere in the district. It is not real yet, so maybe that will become real in February. Who knows? That's been sort of lingering in purgatory since July, so I don't know what's going on there. But um, the and then again, I mentioned this up top, but I'll be in touch with an updated committee date for February since we have to move from MLK Day. Um, and there's a little bit of a negotiation happening there. If you have any insight or thoughts or feelings about the comp plan stuff that we just reviewed, let me know. Please feel free to send me an email. But otherwise, have a good rest of your January.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy New Year, guys, and thank you.
Bye.
Have a nice one.